I am waiting for most of you to get in here. And then we're going to begin. We're just going to talk about different cases because I've had other people writing to me going, why don't we do other cases other than Nancy Guthrie? So, speaking of Nancy Guthrie, let me just take a quick look. All right, we're going to look at Nancy Guthrie while I'm waiting for others to get in here. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so my name is Psychic Carla Barron, actually. Carla Barron, with the word psychic in front of it. No, I was not born with that word in front of it, but it's what I was from the beginning. Okay, so we are going to do just a quick update on Nancy Guthrie. I posted some things. Luigi Mangione. You know, it's weird how I'm drawn to different cases, and lo and behold, Luigi was supposed to begin. He got trapped in some elevator nonsense and whatever, and his case is postponed to begin in January sometime, but it was supposed to begin on my birthday, November 4th. So a lot of times I'll get involved because of certain dates or certain numbers. That will be the connector. Okay, we're just looking at all cases today. I mean, we can even dip into cases from Haunting Evidence if you'd like, or any other cases in the news right now, cases that I've done some stuff on, but you would like to take another look. All right, let me take a peek at this with Nancy Guthrie, see if we're any more details on Nancy Guthrie. Just relax, everybody, and breathe. Okay. Again, I'm getting, she is no longer with us, and that's pretty much for sure. And I almost get like, there was definitely some sort of like rise in power because of this situation. Like somebody had some level of success tied to that situation. Let me just see. Will we ever find Nancy's body or her remains? Will that ever happen? I'm getting yes again. I mean, I know it seems unlikely because we would have found them by now, but let me see what is precipitating that situation. All right, Nancy Guthrie, what will be? Okay, it looks like, all right, I'm hearing the word deal. A deal is made. And at that point, we will receive coordinates on where she is buried. That's what it looks like. And I'm seeing the lawyers here, both of them. The defense attorney, the prosecuting attorney. And I'm seeing that they already know, actually. It's just now they're breaking it down. And now it's about whatever deal is going to play into this situation that will precede the location coordinates of her remains. And then, you know what everybody says, oh, and then Savannah and the family can have peace. First of all, I think they already know. And I think that they just don't want that to be true. But I think they already know. I think they know what's going on with that. And I think they already know the details. I think they're just trying to move on because otherwise all of their lives will be destroyed. Um, this definitely looks like corruption at the highest levels. That's the biggest thing that I can tell you about this. This was not necessary. This did not need to happen. This was not something that should have happened in America, but it was done almost as it was a distraction, but it was also a red herring to draw your attention off of something else. That is for sure with what I'm seeing. The other thing that I'm going to try to look at the timing on when we're going to be able to see something. I believe that Nancy Guthrie's family already is aware that she has uh, died, and now it's just a matter of waiting the appropriate amount of time to prepare a statement. And I see both the lawyers here, defense and prosecuting attorney, state attorney. And I'm seeing that they're trying to figure out, who to charge, what to charge. I did post something earlier about that guy, Derek. I think he took a plea deal because I think he just didn't know what else to do. Yeah, he didn't know what else to do. And again, I will get on YouTube at some time soon in the future here, trying to figure out how I want to do it. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you have to do camera stuff. And I'm not comfortable with going on there with, hair, makeup, and the whole thing. I'd rather have you guys listening to what I have to say, but I'm okay with teaching you the cards and showing you how I do that whole thing, and like my candle and my crystal and my method and how I come to these conclusions. I don't do anything of a regular, spread or tarot cards or anything pictorial. It'll probably be boring to you, or probably be scratching your head going, like, how is she coming to that information from these cards? They're regular playing cards, guys. It's how I grew up. An old Italian woman named Mary, when I was like, I don't know, I was 11 when I first started seeing her, and she died when I was 19. And I remember 2 weeks before she died, she told me, she said, the next time you want to come see me, I won't be here. But I will be watching you. And I said, okay. I said, where are you going? And she said, well, I have cancer. And I said, okay. And she knew she was going to die. So it was very, it was weird. I was kind of calm when she was telling me about how she was going to go. But she sat at a table, and like any Italian woman is, she had some sort of sauce going on the stove every time I was there. She also had religious artifacts all over her house. I mean, there were holy water stations in every room. And she actually had holy water in them, and statues of Jesus and Mary and Joseph. I mean, highly Catholic situation going on. Rosary beads were hanging, crosses were in every room. But the table where we did the reading was the kitchen. Very understated. She had the plastic, red and white plastic tablecloth. That's what she did these on. And she was in the Poconos, and yeah, we went to Mary's house, and Mary sort of took me under her wing. And when she told me, she said, when you turn a certain age, everyone around the world will know who you are. And I said, oh, they're going to know that I'm a singer. And she said, no, no, no. And I said, well, how are they going to know me? And she said, you're going to do what I do, except you're going to be world renowned. You will be out there. And of course, I was just doing it for fun then. But 1 month before I turned that age that she said, I was actually signed on to do MTV Sphere, and my entire life changed. I had a television career that started, and we did that whole thing. But she actually said the age where this would happen. She said, you're going to move to a place that has palm trees. She said, either Florida or California. And I said, okay. And at the time, I was going to school in Pittsburgh, so this was not like a thing that I was thinking about doing. But she said, no, I think it's California. And then she said, once you are known, it's not going to be easy. She said, but you will be effective at what you put out there. And she said, I'll be watching you. And I said, okay. And she said, remember what I'm teaching you. And I said, okay. And it was funny because I would just memorize how she did the cards just from my own. Like, she never said, hey, do the cards like this, do the regular playing cards, because she used to lay them out in rows like she was playing solitaire or something. She used to lay them out in rows like that. And I don't do that. I just pull random cards from the deck, and I use them to steady my hands. And I remembered when, and I'm talking like people would drive from the tri-state area to see this woman. She was very understated, very humble, very much in demand though, and everyone went to see her. My mother did, my grandmother did. I mean, it was just like this whole thing. And then I yelled at my grandmother, why didn't you tell me about her before I was 11 years old? Like, I was so pissed off. I was like, oh my God, that's the best thing. That's like Disneyland to me. Why did you not tell me about this woman? And they decided that 11 years old, I was old enough to understand what Mary was saying. So anyway, I was a precocious child, and I understood the psychic arts long before I was supposed to. So I was a little bit pissed off that they waited until I was 11 to introduce me to Mary. That's I got. And when I was in college, I would drive home and I would go to my grandmother's house, and I'm like, okay, schedule a session with Mary like now. And, then my grandmother and I would sit at her dining room table. I mean, it would go on for like 5-6 hours while we tore apart the reading. And then she said this, and then she said this. So I was doing what you guys do. I mean, we sat there taking apart those readings like bit by bit, and every prediction and everything she said, and just it was the time of my life. I got to tell you guys. I mean, I loved it. So anyway, back to Nancy Guthrie and the predictions and what's going on there. I'm just going to look to see. I usually take a sidebar because I'm looking in my mind at Nancy Guthrie while I'm talking. So I look in my mind while that's happening. All right, so let's take a peek. I'm just looking to see how long it is before we act. Okay, there we go. They know now. In July of 2020, they know now where she is. It looks like they're waiting until early September before they're going to let the public know. Right now, this is where this stands. You know, and I had some people on YouTube actually posing that question, like, why do I, you know, you said this about it. You said that Annie and Tommaso, that they're going to go down for this and whatever. I said, right now we know that they're the ones, but that doesn't mean that some deal can't be struck behind closed doors, which is what's happening right now. They need this to go away. And I think they're afraid that if they take Annie and Tommaso in for this and one or both of them starts talking and they write a book or they author a book, they start writing down what they know, they're afraid that they're going to get roped into it. The authorities will be dragged into that whole situation. So the optics are important for them. But that's what I'm seeing right now. That's their plan. Like right after Labor Day. They actually have a date set for when they're going to release this. And when they're going to find her remains. Oh, they will find her remains. They already know where her remains are. You know, and they're controlling the narrative. They're controlling the story. They're controlling how this is going to be happening. And it's all so that the bigger picture, the bigger story, the one where a lot of very high profile personnel could go down for a lot of other things, they're trying to conceal that. So if any of you have questions about any cases out there, anything that's going on, you want to ask, just do your thing. Send me the request on here and I'll put you on and we'll see what we can see. And it could be about any case at all. Any case I've worked before, any case in the news now. But we're kind of just doing like, you know, sweeping up on some of these case files. And I know some people have asked for this to happen. I would love to dedicate like one of these podcasts for each missing person that people ask me to do, but it's difficult because you know, it's only for that one person wants to hear about that one case, and that's what the problem is. Michelle, I've added you.
Hi, Carla.
Hey, good evening.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good evening.
Okay, so what is your question about any of these cases?
I'm thinking about the Lynette Hooker case with her husband, Brian. They were vacationing in the Bahamas, and he says that she fell off the little dinghy boat and got swept away. I mean, I know he's guilty as sin because all his stories are so inconsistent. And is he going to be found guilty of her murder?
Okay, I've somewhere in my feed, but I don't know anything about this case, so bear with me on that, okay?
Sure.
All right. So let me look. Say her name again.
Her name is Lynette Hooker.
And
They were in the Bahamas.
his name, her husband's name?
Brian Hooker.
Okay. And again, it's Brian with an H?
Brian.
Brian, the last name.
Yes, Hooker with an A.
Okay.
Hooker.
All right. Let me just look to see if he's going to go down for this. Let me just see what I can see about it. Okay. Just relax.
Okay.
Okay. Interesting. This was about money, and this was about protecting assets. And it was discussed and premeditated before they even went on the trip.
Wow.
So, is he guilty? Yeah. Let me see if he's found guilty, though, in a court of law, beyond the shadow of a doubt or two. Okay. You know what? They just don't have enough. They just don't have enough to convict the guy. It's too remote, and they don't have any eyewitnesses. They have nothing.
Yeah, and her body hasn't been found. It's just
They have
lost
nothing.
at sea, for sure.
They have nothing. And all they have is his statement and his alibi and what he witnessed. And I get that it was planned that way.
Wow.
But here's the thing. It was discussed with another person or two guys here that I see. And it was to protect his assets, protect his business, protect his assets, protect what he owns.
Wow.
Let me see if there's any documentation that will back that up, though. Let me just look. All right. Is there any documentation for this guy, Brian, to put him away? Let me see. Let me ask you this. Do you know about whether or not his family comes from money or something? Because I just get this, there's a whole lot of effort here to protect his assets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel bad for her family, her daughter, because they're all questioning what went down doesn't sound right, and they've had a history of a lot of arguments and I think a little violence there, and I think she was on the verge of leaving finally after so many years, and then he said, let's go on this trip and rekindle what we have. Let's try to save. And then all of a sudden she's dead. So I don't know.
Well, obviously I know nothing about this case, but that's the first thing that I'm picking up, that this was about protecting his assets. And he was already on the way out the door anyway, but he needed to make sure she didn't take all of it in some sort of divorce proceeding. So,
I'll have to check and see if he had any money or if his family had any money,
well,
because I don't remember.
it just looks like he was protecting something, and it was in the documentation is hidden, but he didn't want her getting any of it, and that was part of this.
All right, thanks, Carla. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I think that the only reason that he's being questioned and there is such a court thing going on is because there's nobody else. And there's just nobody else to question. And I think he's going to get away with it, but I'm telling you, I don't think he's innocent either. So
Well, thank you so much.
you're welcome. Okay. All right. So let's see. I am going to look at this Luigi thing because I've never really looked at it on a podcast before, but let's look at it. Let's look at Luigi Mangione. Let's see what his story is, just because I posted about that today. So I just want to see, will Luigi be found guilty of murder? I'm just looking. Nope. I mean, off in more ways than one. I mean, this guy is going to be celebrated. I just don't think that anybody wants to put him away. And I get a problem with Luigi actually carrying out like any sort of prison sentence in the name of murder. I think he's being celebrated as some sort of national hero to a lot of people. And he's a vigilante. He's whatever he is. But I'm going to ask again, is Luigi going to go down for this thing? Is he going to be found guilty of murder? You see, here it is. Here's the problem with this. It looks like the chain of evidence, something was tainted there. Something was tampered with. I don't think that they're able to construct a proper timeline or something because it was tampered with. And the actual protocol here was broken. And they're actually using that as part of their defense, and they can't convict beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I think that's where we're headed with this. Yeah, let me see when this will be. When will he be released? Will Luigi be released from prison? Well, yes. And it might be a year from now, like now till about maybe August of next year. But it looks like, he's able to escape a prison sentence because of chain of custody was broken. Something's wrong there with the way they collected evidence. And there's something that they can hold on to as far as the defense goes. It looks like they're able to hold on to that to exonerate him. So yeah, apparently in this country, you're allowed to go do that now. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing with this. I mean, the guy's going to get off, and he's probably going to have 10 book deals and a modeling career and his own talk show probably, or radio show or something. The guy's going to get like showered with all types of, flowers and accolades and, for defending the people, against corruption. And in this country, you still can't do that. You just can't go all vigilante like that and do it on your own. Not yet, anyway. The law is the law. So, I was also thinking, and remind me later, but I was also thinking for future podcasts that I would do almost like a weekly for each sign. I would do predictions for each sign: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. I was going to do like a weekly kind of thing where I would just do a quick weekly forecast of what I see coming for each sign. So if that's something you guys would like, I'll implement that and I'll have a couple of podcasts a week. But I was actually thinking about that the other day. I thought that would be interesting for you guys to hear from a psychic's viewpoint. I mean, I know a lot of astrologers do that. They do their podcasts where they make their weekly predictions, but I'm a psychic making weekly predictions. So I'm not doing tarot cards. I'm doing this from psychic ability that I use every day. So I'm thinking that I will add that to my roster as a series, and I will do a weekly podcast as a supplement to the other ones where I do astrological predictions for each zodiac sign for the week. Yeah, I'm going to do that because I think that's a good thing to do. I actually dreamt about that the other night, and I'm like, oh, I need to mark that down. So I'm saying it now on the podcast so I remember that I'm going to do that. So far what we have Nancy Guthrie, where I see that they already know where she is. They already know what happened. And right now they're deciding when will they release that information to the public. That's kind of the gist of what I'm picking up. I may be wrong about like the order in which that's going, but that's what I'm seeing with her. And I'm seeing that right now they're looking at, let's let Labor Day go by, and then we'll just release it in September, like beginning of September or something like that. That's kind of what they're talking about. I see a plea deal of some sort with Annie, with Tommaso, with they're afraid not of arresting them or having them go down for this. They're afraid that they're going to talk, is what I'm picking up with Nancy Guthrie this week. That Annie or Tommaso or both of them are going to talk and spill what they know from the authorities and the corruption and all the other nonsense that's going on there. So they're trying to sort of let them go on a technicality or whatever. And, they're just trying to get out of this and wiggle out of this as much as they can, because this goes very high up, guys. This goes into, high up the chain here. Yeah, this is going to a federal level. State level, yes. Federal level, yes. And that's why you've got so many departments jumping in, working on this, taking over, like, oh, this is my case now. And, I mean, it's mainly to control the information, to control the leak of information, arresting YouTubers outside of, and TikTokers outside of Nancy's house. I don't know what that's doing, but, it's the problem is that they have a lot of stuff that they're sitting on, a lot of information, a lot of, I think when authorities did arrive on the scene, they thought some old woman who just happens to be the mother of a celebrity on television, some old woman just walked away. She's coming back. Let's make some coffee, and they weren't even really thinking anything was going on. They were not read into the situation because they happened to be nearby. So already their plan was falling apart, and it just sort of spiraled from there. So that's what I got on Nancy Guthrie this week. As far as Luigi Mangione, okay, so with him, I just, the whole thing where he was stuck in an elevator, that was fun. I was reading that going, all right. I see that he is going to escape on his own recognizance. He is going to be celebrated as some sort of weird, national hero for what he did. And, there's enough people that think he did right, and that his reasons for doing it were right. But the whole idea of being a vigilante in this country, I don't know if, we're steps away from that being legitimized or legalized, but I see that the collection of evidence, the chain of evidence, there were problems there, and that's the technicality that they're going off of with the defense. And I think that's part of the reason he's smiling all the time, because he knows he's going to get off on this. And then, like I said, I see, book deals in the future for him, and then, television interviews, and, maybe he starts like some sort of a, I think that he has protection all the way around. And I think people are protecting him. That's what I'm getting with him. That he has certain people, certain high level, powerful people protecting him. And they would rather let him get off on this than have him out there accidentally tipping over the apple cart with what else is going on with corruption inside various agencies. So that they would rather have this guy, just let him go. He's nobody. And, I think the American people that are behind him are seeing him as some sort of a, some sort of a Robin Hood. He's here to save us, kind of thing, and I just, so there's that. I don't know, but if you have questions about any cases, I don't care what cases they are, whether they're from the past, if I've worked on them before, that's fine. You can ask me, you can submit a question here and just submit a request to speak, and I will get you on. But I will get on YouTube with this. As soon as I move, guys. I think I've got to wait until I move in order to set all that up. And then I will do a thing where we either see me with my hands and doing the cards. Like I said, I don't do any particular type of spread with my cards. I just pull them at random, and all they do is they spark ideas in my head, and I can see in my psychic mind's eye, I can see what's going on. So that's what that's about. But I'll have a camera on that. Why not? Because with YouTube, you have to have a camera on something. So I'd rather do that and feel comfortable with that. And that way you can see me with the cards. I don't shuffle them all. You know, these people belong in like a casino. These psychics I see shuffling these cards. I do not shuffle cards like that. I just shuffle cards like a regular person, and mainly because I don't want to bend the cards and I don't want them to be damaged. Um, but like I said, what I see is um, it's fluid. People are asking me whether or not the the events that I see could they change, you know, and with what I had said about Nancy Guthrie with Annie and Tommaso and that whole thing. Like, oh, you said that they would go down for this. I said they were guilty. I didn't say they would actually go down for it. They are complicit. Let's put it that way. As far as what I can tell as a psychic, that's what I see. But will they go down for it is the fluid part. And what people don't understand about psychics and psychic readings, and when we're looking at a timeline, is free will plays into these events. So there could be a number of events on the periphery where these things can alter the actual outcome. I see at the core, yes, they're involved. Yes, the authorities already know what happened to Nancy Guthrie. They already know. They already know where she is. They already know what happened. And is this a massive cover up? Yes, in many ways it is, because they're covering up information, they're covering up, you know, protocol got messed up. People didn't know, you know, we had only a few people who knew what was going on. And then all the rest of them just sort of like stumbled upon the crime scene, pretty much Keystone Cops. You know, people were tripping over evidence left and right and not doing everything the way they should have because they thought this was just some old woman who walked away. And she wandered away and she lost, you know, her sense of direction or something, and she's going to be back. And that is not at all what happened. But you know, it's become a national pastime to watch this case. Is it because of Savannah Guthrie? Yes, in part. And people want to champion, you know, somebody they feel was innocent, somebody they feel didn't deserve to be taken. You know, it's not my job to sit here and assign blame or, oh, well, she was talking about, you know, this person or that person, and she deserved to be taken because she was part of a group that was fostering the belief of this and that. That's not my job, guys. It's not my job to point out blame or guilt or whether or not somebody should have been taken for whatever reason. It's my job to see what happened and what is most likely to happen at the end of this scenario. So the rest of it is karma, and you know how this thing works out is dependent upon, you know, if people stop playing games with the government because they don't like the government, they don't like what the so-called truth is, they don't like living under the pretense of this is a free country, you know, that's fine. But I mean, it's, you know, pick any country in the world and you're going to have problems with it. There's no country in the world that is free from fault or free from difficulty, or, you know, it's just that people like to complain instead of just making the best of what we have. People like to complain. So this is where we are with this. And there are a few people that are power mongers and they just control the whole thing. And, they paint it under the guise of something else, and we're supposed to accept that. Well, if you know me at all, you know I don't accept anything at face value. I never have. And I will continue talking so until they stop me from talking so. So, anyway, those are the cases that are out there right now. I know that some of you have asked me to work on other cases that are very, near and dear to your heart. But the thing is that I have to do case files that most people will want to hear about for these podcasts. I can't just pick one because one person asked me to. If 15 of you ask me to do a case, I will do them. And each week I am going to implement some sort of like an astrology, but it's mainly going to be my stat sign. So if it resonates with you guys, keep it. If it doesn't, throw it away, but I will do that for each sign. So for Aries, for Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. I will do each week, and we'll just see what I see. And it'll just be a short clip for each sign. And I'll do those short little video things on YouTube, and I'll put that out as a series just because I had a dream about it the other night. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll do that. So I will do predictions for each sign. And the people that are meant to hear it will gravitate to that particular podcast episode. And that's how those things work. And when will I do this? As soon as I move, guys, I will have a setup where I will have cameras on it. Let's see if I can get somebody to help me with that. So maybe, I'm thinking maybe my hands, maybe photograph my hands while I'm doing the cards and have my candle and my little setup, maybe make it whatever season of the year it is. If it, or maybe I'll put like flower petals on the table. Who knows? I'll get very creative with it though. And Christmas time, we'll do little fairy lights, then we'll do, we'll make it very festive. And I'll just decorate it, and we'll do a camera and we'll show the cards. They won't be in any particular order, but I also plan on offering courses on various psychic arts and how to develop your abilities, because a lot of people are asking me for that. So I'll do that. That'll be more of a paid feature though. So, I'll make that part of a subscription thing, and I'll figure that out later. But I'll have like small classes, not where it's any more than say 10, 15 people. And we'll do the online classes. I'll teach you guys how to tap in, and whatever your abilities are, we'll see if we can draw those out and actually have you use those to help yourself, to help others that are around you. If you're looking to do that, I don't know, maybe as a weekend gig at some bookstore or something, whatever the reason is, it's something that I'm going to offer eventually. Okay. So I need to know if anybody else has any more questions about case files out there, or you just want to make a statement about case files out there or what's going on. So just ask me now, or otherwise I'm going to wrap it up. And people say, oh, well, you're a psychic. You should see when they solve those cases. You should see, when they're going to catch the killer or when the missing person will be found. And again, a lot of times it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with group karma. It has to do with group souls making, they're all part of the solution, guys, with these crime scenes. Um, now the public is involved far more than they ever used to be. And, it's become a pastime. Like I said, it's a hobby for a lot of people. And people on YouTube and TikTok like to actually travel to the crime scenes and do their little thing. You will not ever catch me doing that. I will be invited by law enforcement or the family, or I'm not going. It's just the way it works. But I'm old school with it. So, I never just, land on that crime scene or that, the home of a missing person and say, okay, I'm going to go to work, let the camera start rolling and we start doing our thing. It's not the way you need to do it. And it's not proper etiquette when it comes to this type of thing. And it's not because I believe the police are all 100% on their game all the time. No, I do not. But there are a lot of mistakes that happen when people start playing detective like that. Oh, I'm going to find out the real truth about what's going on behind the scenes and I'm going to get that footage. And it's yes and no. First of all, those people are not trained investigative reporters, even though that's what they say. And, I don't pretend to be, but I know what I do actually has helped in a lot of cases that I've been invited on. I still work with police departments all the time, and I speak very little of it. You'll notice I don't tell you guys. When I've had a regular reading with a police department, I don't talk about it. Number one, because I told them I would not, and number two, because they take the information and they do what they can with it. I've been doing it all along. There isn't a month that has gone by where I'm not asked to see what I can see about a case. There's not 1 month that has gone by that I am not invited on a crime scene or invited to look. And it's because I do the remote viewing thing. I don't need to be on the scene. I don't need to fly there. I don't need to touch something that was there. So my abilities work remotely from day one. That's how they work. So I became a commodity because I work like that. Many other psychics have to be at the scene. It doesn't mean they're any better or worse than me. It just means that that's how they need to work. But what I can do is I work quickly. That's one thing they like about me. I work very fast. I am extremely detailed with what I see. Like detailed, beyond detailed. And they have to be taking notes pretty fast. So, and the other thing is that I don't need like some sort of reward or like, like I have so many people come to me like, there's reward money. Why don't you go after that? Because I'm not interested. I could care less about the reward money. I just don't have any interest in pursuing reward or, like I need to be named as that person that helped solve that case. That's my way of giving back. The reward I get is what I get every day with you guys. And I have clients until the day I die. So I don't worry about that. But I knew that I had to balance all of that and give back what I could while I was doing this. Just because it was, I can't just keep taking. And, I've got to give some of this back to you guys. But I'm going to start that actually, maybe even this weekend with the astrology thing. So look for that. I'll do that before I even start on YouTube because I want to see how that works for you guys. But I'm going to start through each sign and give predictions. So I'll start this weekend. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I might do that tomorrow, guys, where I do a live and it'll just be me talking. And then you can listen to the playback later. So anyway, those are your updates. Any case files that you want me to do, a number of you have to request. Okay, it has to be like at least 10 to 15 people, or otherwise I can't do an entire podcast just on one case. I would love to, but I just, it's just not feasible right now. And I thank you guys for coming by and like hanging out with me. And it is what it is. But one thing that I did see, I saw a prediction this morning when I woke about this country. And it was just a very brief clip in my head. Like I saw what was about to happen. And around the month of August, I am kind of zooming in on August here. And I'm a little bit apprehensive about a couple of things I saw. But I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to say, okay, we still have a country after that, but there are some things that are about to go down from what I could see. And it was just a brief thing. So hold on to your loved ones, guys, because right now it seems very calm and complacent and everything is fine and we're all fine and it's just summertime and people are, enjoying their summer. Yeah, no. Let's get to August and let's see what happens because I'm seeing something that I'm not exactly happy about. I'll say more about it later, but I just wanted to say that I saw that this morning right before I woke up. And usually those dreams contain prophecy. When I have a prophecy dream, it's right before I wake up. And I remember it clear as day, clear as I'm looking at this laptop right now. And I'm seeing some things that are frightening me. So hold on to your loved ones. Know what is right. Know what is real. Know what is genuine. Know what is authentic and hold on to those things. Not your pride or not your greed or like whether or not you're working at the right job, because those things won't even matter. They won't even matter, you guys. You have to look at what you're building and the legacy you're leaving for yourself, for your own soul, and for those that have been touched by your lifetime here. So you have to look at that. All right. So I'm out of here unless somebody has a question about another case file. Doesn't matter what it is. Unless you have a question, submit your request to speak. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. If not, I'm going to sign off and then I'll have all this stuff up on all the platforms. Probably within the hour, but we know YouTube is going to take forever and a day because they usually do. I don't know what their deal is. I think their calendar and like their timer actually has it. Like if it's for today's date, it won't hit until midnight my time for today's date. So for some reason it works like that. I've never actually seen it where YouTube is first. YouTube is the very last to get everything uploaded. I'm not really sure why. I think it's because they adopted the platform for podcasts from Spotify, and I think there was something missing in the the transmission there, or the the handoff from Spotify to YouTube, and they didn't agree on a lot of stuff, and I think It was more that. Anyway, I am wishing you guys a good weekend, and I am going to have everything up shortly. So again, hold on to your loved ones. August is coming, and that frightened me what I saw. But I'm not going to talk about it until it's clearer in my head. I'm going to try to do a psychic dreaming about it to see what I can see. But it was definitely in August. If I had to say, it was around like, I don't know, first 10 days, 11 days, somewhere around there in August. Yeah, there's something going on there. Okay. I'll touch you guys next time. Good night.